Hello! Welcome back to another video. It feels like ages since I've done a sit-down video where it's just a chat through some books and just going through everything sat down rather than in a vlog style, really. I feel like I've done a lot of vlog style content recently, so hopefully you guys enjoy this. I did a lot of videos in Vlogmas and I think I just needed a little bit of a rest, so that's what January has been. But February, we're back to it. So this video is going to be me going through all of the series I currently have that are unfinished on my shelves. This is basically me giving myself a kick to read these books or unhaul them if I don't think I'm ever gonna continue the series. The way I'm counting this is series I am currently in the middle of that I own more books than I have actually read within the series for. So for example, if there is a series that has 6 books and the last 2 haven't actually come out yet, but I have read the 4 that have, I'm not going to include that because there's no more I can physically read at the time of filming this to go further in that series. So these are just series in which there is more books out than I have read in that series. So let's jump in no particular order, just pulling them off the floor, whatever comes first. Okay, the first series is The Cemetery of Forgotten Books by Carlos Ruiz-Zafón. This is a 4-part series. It is complete. Unfortunately, the author Carlos Ruiz-Zafón did pass away a few years ago, which is really, really sad. Such a fantastic writer. These are brilliant, brilliant books. I have read the first 2 in this series. Now this is a kind of different series really because the way that they follow on from each other isn't the typical format you would expect. You could, I think, read them as standalones, but reading them together would give you more context. But I think that these are ones that you could just dive into without having too much memory of the other books in the series, for example. So I've read the first 2 and this one I reread last year, but the second one, I can't remember when I read it quite a while ago and it's not really sticking in my head anymore, but I think that would be okay. Like I think I could still move on to the third one. This is one of my favourite books. This is a book about books. It follows this place called the Cemetery of Forgotten Books. There's the familiar theme within all of these books and it's basically an archive of these really old books that people have put in there for whatever reason. Someone puts in a book and they take a book and you basically get to pick one book to keep from the Cemetery of Forgotten Books. And this one is the story, The Shadow of the Wind is the story of a young boy who takes one of those books and becomes really obsessed with it, and as he grows older he wants to learn more about the author and ends up uncovering a mystery along the way. It's such a good series, I absolutely love it, and I do fully intend to continue with this series. I've got Carlos Ruiz-Zafón's other books as well and have read some of those. He's just fantastic author. They're absolutely brilliant. The writing is hypnotic and amazing and the stories always have some kind of a love for books, which I absolutely adore. So yes, I do fully intend to continue with this series. I will do it. I've got everything, I think I've got everything published by him. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure I've got all of his published works though, so I will one day complete reading them all. Okay, this next one is a real blast from the past. This is the Rebel of the Sands series by Olwen Hamilton. I own all 3 of these and I read this one. I don't even know when did this come out? This in my head is from when like I started talking about YA books online, and that makes sense because it came out in 2016, which is when I created my Booksnest accounts. This, I think, follows somebody who gets swept up in this rebellion that involves magic and people having all these different abilities, and I love things like that, and I do still remember parts of this book in my head quite visually, but I just never continued with it and I don't know why. I think this one's actually a signed edition as well. Yeah, I met the author at Yelp. I've still got the little post-it note with my name in it. I don't know if I'm ever going to finish this series. This is one where I'm always a bit like, do I unhaul it? I mean, they're personally signed, which always makes me feel like I want to keep the book because it has some kind of sentimental value there. So it might be not that I wouldn't unhaul them necessarily, but just kind of mentally remove them from my TBR because I don't know. I don't know if the time has passed for these. Let me know if you have read this series and if you would recommend it. This next one will only be on this list for a month because this book is the 4th book in this series. It's on my TBR for February, but this is the Pages & Co series by Anna James. This is currently a 4-book series. I hope Anna James is writing more because they're just brilliant. They follow Tilly, who can go into the pages of books, and also the characters from those books come out to see her. My favourite thing about this book is that her grandparents, who she lives with, own a bookshop, and it is just so delightful and so cosy, and I just would absolutely kill to visit there. If I could jump into the page of a book, this one would be in consideration, just so I could go to this fictional bookshop. So yes, I am 3 books into this series. There are 4 books currently released. The 4th book only came out quite recently, and I fully intend to read it within my February TBR, and I might have read it by the time this video is live, who knows. This is just such a magical, brilliant world, and I am really, really excited to continue with it. This next one is one I also read fairly recently, and do fully intend to continue with the next one this year. So this is a duology, and this is Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. This is a brilliant fantasy romance, and it was so visual and it kind of played out like an anime in my head. It follows 2 characters, one of which is, her very life is that she kills bad people by kind of sucking their essence out of them, which sounds really gross when I say it like that. She's a Gumiho, and this is what she does to get justice. And then she meets this guy and she has a romance, and he kind of has something that she needs to get back from him. He has this soul bead that is her life source, essentially. So yeah, this is a romance, fantasy, action-packed. I absolutely loved it, and I'm really, really wanting to get to the second one. I keep thinking about adding it onto TBRs, but I just haven't squidged it into Fictionary yet, so I do fully intend to get to that one, hopefully in the first half of this year. So this is just a duology, so this should be quite an easy one to be able to tick off my list of series to finish. When I look back at this video one day, I will have finished this series. This next one is Nevermoor, The Trials of Morrigan Crow. This is the first book by Jessica Townsend. I don't actually know how many books are out in this series yet. I think, is it 3 or 4? This is the only one I have read. This is a middle grade following Morrigan Crow as she is enlisted into this magic world and discovers that there is magic and she's involved in this world, and it's just super brilliant. It's such a good middle grade. I really want to see how this progresses, because the first one is very much just establishing what the magic system is and how she fits into this world, and explaining it all to her and having her come to terms with it and have her adventure, her kind of establishing journey. And it was brilliant. I really, really enjoyed it. And I do have the second one. Is it 4 out? I don't know. They're all kind of different colours, and I can see, I think there's a green one and a red one. Is there another one? I don't know. Anyway, this is one I need to continue as well. Next up is Viper. This is part of the Isles of Storm and Sorrow series by Bex Hogan. This is a trilogy following our main character, who is fated to become the ruler of these islands, and to become the ruler she has to defeat the current ruler, who is her dad. So this is a lot of moral dilemmas and what should I do and who's my alliances to, that kind of thing. This is a trilogy, and I have read 1 book. I own 2 books. I don't think I own the 3rd one yet. This is all set at sea, and I am not necessarily the biggest sea. Is it even fantasy? Yes, fantasy. Sea fantasy type of thing. It's not my thing. I'm not the biggest fan of it. So I think that's probably why I haven't continued with this series. But I do remember enjoying this one and reading it quite intensely on the coach to Yalk one year. So I did really like it when I read it. I just haven't continued yet. I don't know if the ship has sailed, so to speak, on this series, or if it is one I'll come back to, but it's a series I'm in the middle of. I can't remember the name of this next series. It's something about the Lady Janies or something, but this is the first one, My Lady Jane. This is by multiple authors. It's Cynthia Hand, Brodie Ashton, and Jodie Meadows. This is a very fun historical fantasy that is a spin on the story of Lady Jane Grey, and it's very humorous, and it brings light on something that was actually a really traumatic and horrible moment in history, and it shows us what happened in a twisted way, and also adds humour into a really dark situation and gives it a better version of events. And I think there's 3 in this series. I don't know if that's it, if it's going to remain 3 or if there's going to be any more. The next one I think is following Jane Eyre, and then the next one after that is My Calamity Jane, I want to say. They always follow a Jane, I can tell you that much. And I have the second one, don't have the 3rd one yet, but I would like to continue with this one, because this one I think I read this in 2016. It's been a while. I don't think I need to remember this one at all, because I do think they are completely separate from each other. I don't even know if it's classed as a series technically. I think they're more like within a collection, but we're going to include it in this video. Okay, then we have this one. Dan Brown's Angels and Demons. What is this series actually called? Is any telling me on the blurb or anything? I can't remember what this series is actually called, but we'll call it the Angels and Demons series. I own the Da Vinci Code in this series. Oh, the Robert Langdon Mysteries or something? Robert Langdon. He is our hero in these series. This I read because I was going to Rome back in 2018, I think, and this is set majority in Rome and around the Vatican, and I really wanted to have read it because I wanted to then watch the film again and be able to see all the things that I was going to go visit and then visit them and remember the moments in the book and the film. And it did work for that. It gave me that kind of excitement of, oh, that was in the book I just read. This series follows Robert Langdon, he's a professor, is that right, initially? Yeah, he's a Harvard professor, and he has this talent with like symbols and deciphering things like that, I think, from what I can remember. And he is brought into certain situations that are getting a bit out of control by the powers that be, and asked for his consultation and his help, and he ends up getting involved in more dangerous ways than I suppose he initially meant to. And this is the first book in that series. The second one is the Da Vinci Code, and then I don't know beyond that point. I don't even know how many there are in this series, but I really want to continue with this because I really enjoy clever mystery books, and this is kind of the OG of clever mystery books, but I just am daunted by them, which is silly because actually when I read this, it wasn't daunting at all, and the style of it was actually very easy to read, and it felt like it was giving the reader the kind of clever information we wanted and made us probably feel like we were learning something along the way, whilst not being patronising and not being too much. So it was a pretty good series, to be honest. I will one day read the next one. One day. I don't know when. Maybe it'll be something I bring on holiday with me because it's one that I think I could really get stuck into for big chunks at a time, so possibly. But yes, this is the first one. Then we have the Fence graphic novel series. I have got 4 books in this series and I've read 3. I don't know how many are out at the moment, but is it just 4 at the moment? I don't know. This is a graphic novel series by multiple people. C.S. Passat, Johanna the Mad, Joanna Lafuente. So this is a graphic novel series following students at a boarding school who are trying to get onto the fencing team. Each graphic novel in the series is following like a couple of days in this sequence, so it's all very close together, and it's really good fun. It's humorous, it's got angst, it's LGBT. It's a good series, and it's one that I never really expected to like because it's sporty, and I don't really go for sporty stuff, but I will read the 4th one quite quickly, I think, because this is one that I got for Christmas, the 4th one, so I just haven't read it yet because it's been like just about a month. Wow, was Christmas a month ago? Feels like it was a year ago at this stage. This has been a very, very long month. Anyway, you're watching this in February, I think. I'm filming it in January, the never-ending month. So yes, Fence, another series I need to finish. This next one follows me around everywhere because I just keep saying I'm gonna finish it, and I still haven't. This is the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Kerry Maniscalco. This is the first book. There are 4. I have read 2. We also have Escaping from Houdini and Capturing the Devil. So with this series, here's my thing. We follow Audrey, see, I can't even remember her name, this is bad, isn't it? Audrey Rose, and we follow someone else, Thomas Cresswell. That's his name, right? If Lauren's watching this, she's gonna kill me for not remembering. I think his name, yeah, his name's Thomas Cresswell. I'm gonna go forward with confidence. And we follow them as they learn, I don't even know what they're learning. Oh no. Basically the first book is them investigating into Jack the Ripper's crimes. And Audrey Rose, is, what is it that she actually does? She works in forensics, like pathology and things like that, I think. As you can tell, I have a very thorough knowledge of this series. I always find this series slumps me. I don't know what it is, but there's something in the way that it's written. I do like Kerry Maniscalco's writing style, but it just slows me down. I don't know why. I think I don't find the mysteries particularly compelling, and that never really makes me want to pick up the next book, but I have been told that it gets like really, really good with the last 2, and I do want to kind of finish this one off and close this off because I like everything about them. I just don't find myself reading them very easily for some reason, so one day I will finish this series. This next one is also a blast from the past. This is the Anna and the French Kiss series, or whatever the series is called. I don't know. Stephanie Perkins. It's a YA contemporary romance. It is so not my thing anymore, but I did really enjoy this one. I think it's about a girl called Anna who goes to France to a boarding school and falls in love with somebody, and I assume has a French kiss with them. I remember loving this one, and I remember starting the second one in a nightclub on New Year's Eve. I was in a really bad place mentally, and I went out on New Year's Eve to a nightclub with some friends, and I really shouldn't have. I was not ready for that, and I had a panic attack, and I didn't want to ruin it for everyone else, so I went and sat on some chairs in a more quiet as you can get in a nightclub area, and I downloaded the audiobook for the second one on my Kindle app on my phone, and I just sat there and read it until everyone was ready to go. So yeah, that was a real fun situation. I remember like really assuring my friends, because they were like, "Are you sure you're okay?" I'm like, "No, it's fine, I'm just gonna sit and read in this nightclub on New Year's Eve." Cool. So yeah, I never finished that one. I think I just still associate it with that time. I can still remember the start of it as well, which is weird. That was, oh god, when was that? 2016? I think 2016 New Year's Eve going into 2017. Anyway, it's been a while. I really doubt I'm ever going to finish this series. It is definitely not my thing anymore. But it might be the kind of series I would go to if like I had too much going on in the world and I just needed a little bit of a break, or maybe like I felt ill or something. I could see it potentially being the kind of series I would reach for at that stage, maybe. There is something in me that cannot quite get rid of these books yet. I don't know why, but there's 3 of them. I've read the first one, and I doubt I'll ever read the other 2. Only a few left, one of them being the Nevermoor series. This is The City of Brass, the first book by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the absolutely stunning fairy loot edition. They are all kind of semi-face out on top of my shelves and just look absolutely beautiful. But I've only read the first book, and again, this is one where I have really visual imageries of sitting and reading the first book as it was becoming summer in 2020. So we were all locked down. So 2020 now seems like so long ago, and yet I'm still saying we were all locked down then. Anyway, we were in lockdown, and I remember being sat on my bench out the front of my house after work reading the first book in this series and really enjoying it. This follows a main character who really wants to see more of the world and ends up going on this adventure and getting what she wants through the assistance of a djinn, and there's a lot more at play from what I can remember. Don't want to say anything that's spoilery. I'm gonna leave it at that. That's what it's about. There is much more of an adventure to it than that, and I do remember really liking this one, but I think I would have to reread this, and I think for that reason that's probably why I haven't continued with the series yet, because I will need a refresher of this. Maybe audiobook would be a good way to go, but they're big books, so this one is more for size and sheer dauntingness of it than anything else really. But I do intend to get to these ones. I don't know how high up on my priority list it is yet, but I've heard fantastic things. I know they're really popular, and I would like to continue with them to see like how I find the rest of the series. Another one I intend to continue with actually quite soon is the Magpie Society by Zoe Sugg and Amy McCulloch. This is a YA thriller. This is the first one, whatever this one's called, One for Sorrow. The second one is called Two for Joy. I got the second one for Christmas, and right, the thing about this series is it's not brilliant. It's not brilliantly written, and it is pretty basic in terms of the way things are described and the dialogue and things. However, it's quite good fun, and this one was left on the edge of a cliffhanger, and I will be continuing it because I need to know what happens at the end of this one. I don't know if there's going to be a third one, but it'll be annoying if the second one is also left on the edge of a cliffhanger, because I can still remember how this one ended, and I read it a year ago, and yeah, the cliffhanger was annoying. This follows 2 characters, one of which is new to the school. She's American, come over to England to attend this school, and she makes friends with this other character, and they discover this mystery surrounding their school. Would you believe it for a YA thriller? I know, shocked, appalled, oh my gosh. And it's about that discovery they make and them trying to look further into that. So that is this one. I have no idea how many books this is going to be, but I have the second one ready to go. And finally, the last book on my series to complete, and this one I really thought I would read the second one as soon as it came out, and I just didn't, and I don't really know why. So it's Serpent and Dove by Shelby Maharin. Actually, I think maybe one of the reasons why is so these are the fairy loot editions, very pretty, and I was waiting on the fairy loot edition to arrive. I didn't want to buy another one because I didn't need 2 editions, and it was around the time I was moving, and I think it got a little bit delayed in when it was arriving, and it arrived quite a bit later than when the initial release of the book was, and I think I was so ready to read it, and then because it didn't arrive, I just kind of kept putting it off and putting it off, and now the third one is out, and the trilogy, I think it's a trilogy, is complete, and I still haven't read it. Oops. This follows a witch hunter and a witch who are forced together through marriage and end up getting along. I quite enjoy their banterish relationship, and they have to tackle something a lot larger that's at play. I really liked this one. I thought it was very funny, and actually I've just remembered another reason that I've been put off the second one, which is a silly reason for me, because I don't like to listen to too many reviews because I always believe that we all read books differently, but I've heard really bad things about the second book, and that does put me off because second book syndrome is a thing. Sometimes the second book is a real flop, so I'd like to think it will be good. I don't know. This is the final book on my list of series I still need to read. So there we go. That's all the series that I still need to read. If you have any you have noticed in here that you think I should read or prioritise first, please let me know. Let me know how many series you've still got to read to make me feel a bit better, because hang on, how many books actually was that? Let me count them. I think that was around 14, but they're all stacked on top of each other, so it's a little bit hard to count them, but I think around 14, which really isn't bad. And I'm now questioning why it's only at 14. I'm just looking around my shelves. I really do think if that is all of the series that I'm in the middle of. I think I have a lot of series I haven't started yet. Like, there is a lot of series I've got that I am not in the middle of because I haven't started them. So I'm cheating the system there by just avoiding starting any new series. It's good logic. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please do give it a thumbs up, comment down below, as I said, if there's any of these you think I should prioritise or what series you are in the middle of, and what emoji can you comment? I mean, I don't want to just say the book emoji, but I feel like just comment a book emoji because we've been talking about series and books, or many book emojis maybe. And thank you so much for watching. You can subscribe to see more of my face on your feed. I've also got my Patreon link down below where I will be doing so many live shows throughout February. Very, very excited for that. Thanks so much for watching. Keep smiling and stay positive.